how to get better advice from people. This video is inspired by my trip that I'm on right now. I'm in Lake Tahoe. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but typically when you're traveling, you always need to ask for advice, recommendations, tips and tricks from the locals around you, people in the service-based industry, so like people working in hotels, the concierge, just general hotel workers, or people that happen to be walking around past you, because you need to know how to navigate and make the best trip possible because you're in an unfamiliar territory. But typically when you ask people who are just around you, not really people in the service-based industry, they more often than not won't give you a really in-depth, genuine answer, because either, they're short on time, they don't really know what they're talking about, or they're not being phrased the right way. So here is how to increase your chances of getting a really good in-depth answer out of people when you need advice, helps, tips, tricks, whatever out of somebody, okay? You're gonna phrase the question by saying the following: what would you do if you were me? Okay, instead of being like, what do you recommend, be like, what would you do if you were me? So say you went to, I'm going to paint a hypothetical picture. Say you went to the store, right? And then you were like, how do I get directions to the ice cream parlor? I hear that the one across the street is really famous, or not across the street. You wouldn't ask for directions if it was across the street. Say you're like, the one that I hear that, a couple streets over, it's this really famous ice cream parlor that is known around here in the town for having really good quality ice cream, and I really want to get there and try it out. So how can I get there? Can you give me directions? And they're like, oh, sorry, actually it's closed, sorry. And then they just end it there. Instead of letting them end it there, you should be like, what would you do if you were me? Phrasing it like this makes people give you a more in-depth answer, because now they're visualizing and making it so that they are picturing themselves as you. Okay, does that make sense? Because it's really all about how you phrase things. And so phrasing it like this makes people really, their mind start to be like, okay, let me pause for a second and let me really imagine and visualize that my life right now is actually this person who's asking the help's advice. Sorry, that was kind of awkward phrasing, but you know what I mean? They really have to stop and be like, okay, what would I do if I was them? And then you're going to get a more detailed explanation, more detailed response out of them. Okay, so that's a little tip and trick that I heard from the radio a few years back, and I've just ingrained in my head, and something that I think comes into handy or comes of use when traveling, and just in general, when you're out and about in your own local town where you do know things, if you're asking for something that you're unfamiliar with, if you really want to get more of a detailed response out of somebody, phrase it like this, and I guarantee it will really help out. Thank you for watching.